Okay, karibuni to my session, and today we are going to learn about safety in the laboratory, and here is our learning outcomes. So by the end of this session we are going to learn about the types of hazards in the laboratory and explaining the response to these hazards. So we'll begin by defining some terms that are so relevant to us. One of it is hazard, which will define it as any source of potential injury, damage, harm, or adverse health effect on someone or something. Well, we got to differentiate between hazard and risk. We're going to define risk as the probability that a person, property, or environment can be harmed or experience an adverse health effect if exposed to an hazard. Response, which is a very relevant term that you're going to say from this topic, and we define it as the reaction to avert a hazard. So types of hazard that we're going to look at include physical or mechanical hazard, chemical hazard, and electrical hazard. Those are the most key that we're going to look at. So we start by defining physical or mechanical hazard, which you can define it as physical injuries inflicted to a person by external objects or equipment or machineries, and they include cuts, bruises, fractures, dislocations, back injuries, and etc. So this can be caused by poor or careless handling of glasswares, which can result to cuts, poor use of hand tools, which include the tongs and any other hand tool that you can use, which can result to cuts, bruises, and etc. Tripping and falling on hard surfaces or sharp objects, which can result to fractures, dislocations, and back injuries. Heavy objects falling on a person, which can result to head injuries, cranium injuries, or any other injury inflicted to the cranium or scapula of a person. Stepping on sharp objects, which can result to cuts and dislocations. So how can we avert these hazards? And here are the response. That's what we defined it in the previous slide. So response to this hazard include careful handling of equipment with clean and dry hands to avoid slippery, which can drop to your toes. 2. Using insulated tongs when handling hot boiling tubes or beakers to avoid burns on your arms when you're handling them. Avoid use of excessive force when clamping or caulking glasswares or turning bureau taps or bending glass tubes, which avoids cuts or any other injury inflicted to your arm. Using laboratory trays, trolleys when transporting glasswares, which avoids tripping that can cause any dropping and cutting once you're handling these glasswares. And you have to note there's a difference between laboratory equipment and laboratory apparatus, which I'll be giving to you as an assignment in the course of today. Fourth one is work on clean, dry floor area and table to avoid contamination. or tripping. Uh, Ensure proper lighting in the laboratory, which enables you to view everything that you are handling. Lastly is ensuring no obstacle in the laboratory pathways, so that to avoid any collision that can result to any physical or mechanical injury. Second type of hazard we're going to look at is the chemical hazard. We define chemical hazard as hazards associated with transportation, storage, and handling of chemicals, and they include corrosive, which results to corroding the tissues, body tissues, toxicity, which can result to contamination of your body tissues and anything, flammable, which results to fires or quick ignition of fires, and there are some chemicals that have flash point, and we define flash point as the lowest temperature in which any other reagent can result to. Yes, sir. Hello, someone speaking. Yeah.
There is a bit of clarity. I don't know whether you're using an earphone. Probably you could be using prayer because I'm getting a lot of really. So
Oh, well, I'm sorry about it. Let me just. Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me better?
better.
Well, fine. So we are on flammability, and we are defining flash point as the lowest temperature. Well, thank you. Flammability, which can result to fires igniting at the lowest temperature in which fires can be ignited at any temperature. Well, let's go to the fourth one, which is carcinogenic. Carcinogenic. Anytime you say carcinogenic, means cancer causing. Some regions result to cancer when handled inappropriately. So that is one of the hazards that can be experienced. For example, arsenic, arsenic compounds, which include arsenic acid, arsenic dioxide, which can result to cancer, and poisonous, which as well result to toxicity. We just define it as the second one. Explosive, that is the ability to explode and catch fire. I mean, anytime something explodes, it can cause fire, choking, etc. Irritative, that include to the discomfort of your skin. Anytime your skin gets discomfort, that's the irritative aspect. Reactive, that can react with your skin. I mean, we're talking about the hazards. And reactive with the skin or any other surface in the laboratory. So response to these chemical hazards include use of appropriate PPEs when handling chemicals. How do you handle chemicals? Probably with your arm, and you have to know the type of chemical that you are handling. Probably they can be corrosive, probably they can be irritative, and you have to know the appropriate PPE that you are handling. Probably they can be explosive or anything. So anytime they explode on your face, you have to know the appropriate PPEs, and we're going to handle some of these PPEs in our next lessons. Well, you can have your PPEs, and can you just unmute some of your mics and name to me some of the PPEs that you can, in the laboratory? Anyone? PPEs. What is PPEs in the first place?
These are personal protective equipment.
Yeah, good. Akoyo. Good. Personal protective equipment. So, thank you. Just
So an
unmute.
example, like in my place of work, I can use a glove,
Glove.
gloves as
Yeah.
personal protective.
And we understand that gloves can come in different materials. We have the latex glove, the leather glove, and the racing glove, which can be used to handle these chemicals. We also got the safety goggles. We also got the safety face shield, helmet. We also got the gumboots, overall, laboratory costs, and everything. So, second response to this chemical hazard is handling chemicals in fume hoods, especially the ones that release ugly fumes, which can cause choking. Third one is secondary containers when transporting or storing corrosives. Fourth one is storing chemicals in dry and separate cupboards where they cannot react. And only authorized personnel should handle these chemicals. We've learned about laboratory audits, and one of these items that you have to audit is the staffs. They have to have that basic skill when handling these chemicals. So great care should be exercised when diluting or dissolving these agents. You understand that there's a way that we have to dilute these agents, acids, bases. There's a way that we go to dilute them to avoid spatting. That's why appropriate PPEs comes into place. Flammable chemicals should be stored away from potential fire sources that may cause explosion. You'll understand well once we are looking at the causes. We learned about the flammable chemicals that can easily catch fire below their flash points, and explosion probably causes fire. So they should be stored away from potential fire sources that may cause explosion. Keep chemical containers airtight, close to prevent contamination. Any contamination may cause ugly explosions or unexpected result in these chemicals. So let's go to the last one, which is the biohazards or the biological hazards, which we define as the hazards caused by living organisms, for example, poisonous plants, animals, or infectious microorganisms. So the hazards caused by plants are called botanical hazards, and the results to come into contact with poisonous plants, for example, datura, which may cause explosion. Sorry, not explosion exactly, but irritation on your skin once you come into contact with them. Zoological hazards which occur due to poor handling of laboratory animals using worms, live and preserved specimens. So live worms or any other live animals may get into your skin and cause contamination or irritation or even death. Microbial hazards which result come into contact with microorganisms, e.g. algae, fungi, bacteria, virus, and they may cause illness or even death. Microorganisms. So what are the responses to these biohazards? using appropriate PPEs when handling the laboratory fluids and animals, clean or disinfect tables, using appropriate disinfectants before and after experiments. This is self-explanatory. Incinerate used materials as after use. Dot is in the laboratory. That's the basic laboratory use that all of you can understand. Infected animals should not be used for any practicals, and new specimens must be obtained from a reliable source, not just any amateur or any person selling disinfectant. Disinfect or sanitize hands after every practical. Avoid body contact with laboratory animals and plants. The space should not leave the laboratory, only use it in the laboratory. Due to some of these live specimens may get into your PPEs. Once you go outside with them, they may reproduce and cause further hazards, right? So lastly, we're going to look at the electrical hazards, which can be caused due to electrical fault on power cables, which can cause shock, direct burn, or secondary injury from lethal shock. May cause fire and explosions. Fire is something that have to be taken into consideration about everything. So, naked power cables may also cause these sparks to be discharged during power transmission, which can initiate dust or vapor explosion. Naked power cables, the ones that are not insulated, once they get into contact, they may cause sparks. Sparks, when they come into contact with any other item that can cause fire, may result to these explosions. What is the response to these electrical hazards? 1. Electrical appliances must be carefully selected, correctly installed, and adequately maintained. That is one and self-explanatory. Wiring should be done by qualified personnel and regular inspection by a accredited company like the KPLC. Though the KPLC now is currently into so much politics and you cannot do with it, just find someone that is into that. So worn out cables should be replaced immediately. Then worn out cables, just the ones that are worn out and they're naked, should be replaced immediately. 3. Always switch off power before removing plugs. The color coding of the wire should follow the convection codes. All conducting wires must be properly insulated, well trunked away from water points. Installation of voltage stabilizer between supply and consumption points to avoid sparking or in-shots that may result to fire. Circuit breakers should be used to cut off supply in case too much current shall pass through. So, with that, students, we are done with our session today. Any question from anyone? Nobody, is supposed. So, have a good night. It's late in the night, so done.